All right, you are now live listening to the Pulse Wave Market Report with yours truly, the Algo Capitalist, aka the Vulcan, coming to you live from PulseWaveTrading.com, home of the world famous Pulse Wave Price Trigger Reports. All right, so if you're one of the few lucky people on planet Earth who went to pulsewavetrading.com and dared to take the 14-day challenge, chances are you woke up this morning very happy, extremely happy, proud even of yourself for making such a wise decision. You see, our subscribers get our daily market reports every evening, preparing them for the next trading session, telling them exactly where to buy and specifically where to sell, but not just where and when to buy and where and when to sell, but also why. That's right. Not just where, but also when and why. And that is the power of the Pulse Wave Report, the most thoroughly advanced artificial intelligence algorithm on the entire earth. No other system or methodology can even come close to matching it. I've had my YouTube channel up on YouTube now for well over a decade. I have never taken down one market analysis video, win, lose, or draw. All of my dirty laundry is hanging on the clothesline for the world to see. You can go back, you can see when I called the top in the silver market back in the 2011-2012 cycle. You'll see when I predicted the top of Bitcoin, when it was flirting with the 70,000 range, when I warned and pleaded with people to either get out and or tighten up those stops and start booking gains and profits. And for the most part, I was, ignored as usual. You'll also see back in 2016 when I warned the entire world what was going to happen and what was going to befall the crypto market. I warned you. I said, the governments of the world are banding together and they're going to infiltrate and dominate and then take over the crypto market. You've seen just that. I don't know what more I can do. I mean, I don't know what else I can do. But I have one idea. Here's what I can do. I'm going to hook y'all up. I'm going to show you something. I'm going to show you the power of the pulse waves at work. Take a look here at ADA Cardano. Now, as you can see, it has really been trying to get a rally going this week and has really struggled to do that. Why do you think that is? Oh, I know. It's because it's below the Kumo cloud. And because you are in the bubble box on the bear market side, which means that at some point, though, this market will break through. It's just a matter of time, folks. See, that's what we give you. See, these algo charts are just the beginning. We follow up with more than that. Oh, yeah, a lot more. Take a look at QUID, the inverse ETF for the NASDAQ 100. Last night, I issued this report for you, and I showed you what you needed to do. I informed you on the reports that this market had the bias to the upside today. Lo and behold, the market's up again yet today, and has been doing so since you had your initial rally alert back on August the 17th. And the market has not looked back. You can't make this stuff up. This is what we do here. This is what we do. Or how about this one on the S&P? Some people have been saying that the S&P has been doing great, hasn't broken any supports or resistance levels and blah, blah, blah. But here we are with more upside to go. The bottom of the Kumo cloud is coming into play, and the market is up yet again today. Once again, you can't make this stuff up. But here's another very, very interesting one. And people are a little bit on the fence on what to make of the Dow. But here's the DXD inverse ETF for the Dow, even closer to the Kumo cloud. That $50 handle is well nigh. And what do you know? The market touched it today, broke it, went to $50.10 before the current pullback. So yes, the market is doing exactly as the Pulse Wave report predicted. You can't make this stuff up. This is why I do this. I do this because I care. All right, enough of that. Let's move on to some more interesting topics. What I try to do here on this channel is I try to cover different aspects of the market, different aspects of the economy, even some things that may not on the surface appear to be economy related, but when you get into it and when you break it all down, oh, it's very relevant to what's happening or what's not happening in the various economies. And I do this for a couple reasons. The first reason that I do it is because I want to bring you the most up-to-date information as possible. So that's number one. Number two is because in order to capture any kind of major moves in these markets, you have to know what moves the players in the market are making or about to make. And in doing so, it gives you a better trajectory of what's happening and what's about to happen. I'm a firm believer that everything that can be known or that is known is already factored into the price. Even the Wall Street will have you to believe that it is the opposite. I'm here to tell you that that is not true. It is far from the case. For instance, of course, we know that inflation is really causing major problems for people at the supermarkets. But did you know that Eurozone inflation hits yet another record high in August? National statistics agencies revealed that the increase in inflation was driven by higher energy prices, which increased by 44.9% in August compared to 42.9% in July. And look here at the crude oil futures, down $1.58 at $87.97 a barrel, but yet we're still talking about increases in energy. Take a look here at nat gas at $9.16. I remember when nat gas would struggle to hit $3, and it was like that for the longest time. Now it's galloping with the horses. So these are real issues, okay? As long as consumer prices keep rising more than predicted, it's going to continue to be a big burden on people. Or how about how gas prices are rising more than 5% after the Nord Stream 3-day suspension? Gas futures prices in Europe have reached approximately $2,900 per 1,000 cubic meters after Nord Stream suppliers are halted for 3 days, growing by 5% on Wednesday. Gas supplies via the Nord Stream have fallen to 0 cubic meters per hour on Wednesday, as the operation of the pipeline has been suspended for 3 days due to scheduled maintenance work at the compressor station, according to data from gas transportation systems operators. Now, Russian gas deliveries to Europe through the Nord Stream pipeline will cease from August 31st to September the 2nd for maintenance, Russian energy giant Gazprom said on Friday. raising the prospect of energy shortages in Europe. It is necessary to carry out maintenance every 1,000 hours of operation, according to Gazprom. On August 31st, 2022, the only Trent 60 gas compression unit will be stopped for 3 days for maintenance involving technicians from Germany Siemens. Now, last month, July, Russian gas deliveries via the Nord Stream pipeline fell to 20% of their capacity and reached 1.3 million cubic meters per hour, which, according to the operator Nord Stream AG, was due to the withdrawal of another Siemens turbine. Now, at the end of this period, deliveries will be restored to a flow of 33 million cubic meters of gas per day, according to Gazprom. Now, data showed that October futures for gas reached a high of $2,883.10 as of 6:21 General Mountain Time, up from the previous settlement of $2,743.50. Now, gas futures prices in Europe earlier this month surpassed $3,500 per thousand cubic meters for the first time since March, and the futures grew by 6.6% to $3,507.70 per thousand meter. Now, the settlement of the day before $3,290.20 became a record for the whole period of operation of gas hubs in Europe since 1996. Wow. Talk about man-made calamities. Now, in March, European gas futures reached an all-time high of over 3,600 per 1,000 cubic meters, according to the London-based ICE exchange. Just 2 weeks ago, 40.9 million cubic meters of gas has been supplied by Russian energy mogul Gazprom to the Sunza entry point in Russia on Sunday for further transit to Europe, as verified by Ukraine, according to its spokesperson. So, once again, here's your natural gas at $9.18. Here's your oil at $88. Oil is down. Nat gas is up. XLE off $1.61. Very interesting. So, just crazy happenings today. It really is. It's like all of this stuff is being done deliberately and on purpose, and no one seems to really care. I mean, the West has been under cyber attacks and terrorist attacks on its infrastructure as far as its food delivery systems and warehouses, and no one is even so much as even talking about it in the mainstream media. This many explosions and fires, come on. You have to, at some point, acknowledge foul play. But no. Nope. No one's thinking about it. It doesn't matter. And while everyone's focusing on things that don't matter, new tech tools are offering police low-budget mass surveillance technology. That's right. From suburban Southern California to rural North Carolina, law enforcement agencies have been employing an obscure cell phone tracking program, often without search warrants. Police records and internal emails obtained by the Associated Press revealed that law enforcement agencies ranging from suburban Southern California to rural North Carolina have been using an obscure cell phone tracking tool, sometimes without search warrants, that allow them to track people's movements months in advance. Thousands of pages of corporate records stated that the police have used Fog Reveal to search hundreds of billions of records from 250 million mobile devices and leverage the data to generate location analysis known among law enforcement as patterns of life. Fog Reveal, sold by Virginia-based Fog Data Science LLC, has been used in criminal investigations ranging from the murder of an Arkansas nurse to following the activities of a probable participant in the January the 6th Capitol Hill insurgency. The instrument is rarely, if ever, mentioned in court records, making it difficult for defense counsel to defend their clients in cases where the technology was used. Talking about grimy. Two former high-ranking Department of Homeland Security officials under President George Bush founded the company. You probably didn't get that. Two former high-ranking Department of Homeland Security officials under former President George W. Bush founded this company. Keeping it all in the family. According to police emails, it depends on advertising identification numbers obtained from popular mobile apps such as Waze, Starbucks, and hundreds of others that target adverts based on a person's actions and interest. This data is subsequently sold to firms like Fog. Let's run that back. Hundreds of others that target adverts based on a person's actions. Actions. They're watching your actions. They're watching your behavior. They're following you. As you walk down the street, they're walking behind you. As you talk on the phone, they're eavesdropping. And they have developed technology and apps to do just that. Crazy happenings right now, ladies and gentlemen. And then the data is sold. And they mentioned Waze and Starbucks. So when you go in to get your cup of coffee, Starbucks is selling your information to the highest bidder. People better wake up. This is getting crazy. While everybody else is focusing on the wrong thing, your shadowy government forces are finding ways to take more of your rights and freedoms away. Yeah, this is weird, man. I don't know what to say at this point. I mean, the shadowy government is doing whatever it wants to do, and it's getting away with all of it. No one can stop this out of control government. Which leads us to our next example. I know. It's rough. Everything's falling apart. America is falling apart. And you're right. You're right. Bond market. You are absolutely right. Look at your bond market. The bond market is down 2 full points plus 17/30 seconds, almost 3 points. The bond market is supposed to be a flight to safety when the stock market is down. What's going on? Why is this happening? Bond market's in a bear market, folks. Pretty much darn near every market is in a bear market, folks. Pretty much. Pretty much. All of your favorite markets are in a bear market. Not too much you can do about it. It's just the way it goes. When you manipulate markets to such an extent, think about it. We have now 2 decades, more than 2 decades of non-stop stimulus every month. We have been under stimulus, monthly stimulus, longer than some of you listening to this have even been alive. Most of you were probably in diapers when they first started doing this. And they're doing it. And they're doing it big. They're doing it big, and they're not going to stop. They're going to keep doing it until they bring down the entire financial system. And of course, they already have their aces lined up. They have some kind of thing to blame. They'll just cry victim again and say, "Oh, woe is us. China hacked our power grid. Russia hacked this, or they did that, and woe is us. Everyone's picking on us because we're America." It's a bunch of foolishness. But yes, your bond market is in a bear market. And it's not just in a bear market. Excuse me. It's in a mature bear market. Yeah. Yeah, it's mature. They're in a mature bear market. Now, you may not like hearing that. Who does? But facts are facts. And your bond market is locked in. It's locked in. The downtrend is locked in. It's not going anywhere. Once again, the downtrend isn't going anywhere. It's not going to stop. It has no intentions on stopping. They have no intentions on ever stopping. Every time it looks like, okay, there may be some light at the end of the tunnel, people have woken up, they've come to their senses, blah, blah, blah. That's when it says, nope, nope, not at all, nope. And some people say, well, how long can this go on? Well, here's the sad news. The sad news is that this can go on forever because money no longer exists. Once you go digital, electronic, money doesn't exist. So you can do whatever you want. It's just zeros and ones on a computer. All you got to do is type in what you want, transfer it to whatever account, and all of a sudden, poof, your account now has this much, quote unquote, money in it. Money doesn't mean what it used to mean. Money is not about physical, tangible money. Physical, tangible money is done. Physical, tangible money is over. It's over. OVA, over. That's why they can do this forever. Forever. All you do is push a button and say, this much money is here. This much money is there. All your economic theory went out the window a long time ago. Keynesianism died a horrible death. All right? Keynesianism was murdered, taken away, because he's been replaced with an android, with an algorithm, with an artificial intelligence that tells them what to do. It tells them what's what and who's who and what to do. And then they just do it. They bow down and do it without question. They don't question it. What for? Just do what your overlords and your masters tell you to do. Be a good little boy and a good little girl, and maybe we'll let you live. Maybe we'll let you live a while longer. Maybe we'll let you live a little bit more comfortably. We'll make things a little bit easier on you. We won't hurt you so bad. Still going to hurt you, though, but just not as bad because you're useful. You're a useful idiot, and we like that. We don't even have to push agendas and brainwash people anymore. Those who have been thoroughly brainwashed now do the brainwashing for us. Yeah. If they hear someone going against the narrative that we've programmed into them, they will get violent. They will handle it for us. We don't have to do anything anymore. We can just sit back and relax and look and enjoy all of our hard work. What kind of hard work have they done? What have they been working on? Well, for one, they've been working on civil war. Did you know that Americans actually see a civil war looming in the horizon? Did you know that Americans are not so optimistic about the future of the country, as almost half of them think that a civil war could break out soon? Will the U.S. be needed? Will the U.S. be needing a U.S.-style foreign intervention to maintain peace in the future? Well, we know this is true because they've been doing war games on civilian soil over the past 2 decades, practicing for it. They've had drills in Baltimore. They've had drills in California. They've had drills in Texas. Drills in Florida. Over the past 20 years, they have been doing this on American soil. More than 40% of U.S. citizens consider a civil war inevitable in the next 10 years. That's right. 65% of all respondents believe political violence has increased since the beginning of 2021. 62% expected political violence to increase in the coming years. Yeah, so the U.S. has now become Jamaica during elections. Yeah, or any other third world country for that matter. Yeah, we saw it. We saw it in 2020. We saw it. What did they do? What did the shadow government do? Shadow government literally went and paid people out of pocket, gave them cash to riot and loot and vandalize. That's right. All done under the watchful eyes of the Democratic Party. They was tearing the country up, and you didn't see no government, military or otherwise, stepping in to do anything about it because it was all orchestrated. It wasn't meant for them to. No one could stop them. This is what happens when you elect Emperor Palpatine into office. You watch your nation die. Now, that same percentage was 40% among strong Democrats and independents, while 54% of strong Republicans believe civil war is at least somewhat likely. U.S. Senator Lindsey Graham warned on Sunday of riots in the streets if former U.S. President Trump faces charges over his handling of documents found when the FBI searched his Mar-a-Lago home. Let's deal with that for a minute. Now, whether you like Trump or not, it doesn't matter. Whether you voted for him or not, it doesn't matter. It's all political theater. Remember, there is not a two-party system. There is a one-party system. All right? In front of the cameras, they argue and bicker and fight, but behind closed doors, they are one party, voting for the same things and getting the same things passed. It just has the appearance of a bipartisan situation, but it is not. It is one party. That's why, have you noticed, it doesn't matter who gets elected, the same things happen and keeps happening, and we keep getting further and further down the rabbit hole. Doesn't matter if a Democrat or Republican gets elected, that president is going to push forward all the agendas of the previous president and then some. This is how they control you, all right, with fear. Now, think about it. The shadow government has already weaponized its own government against the people. They can run up on you with machine guns anytime they feel like it, and who's going to stop them? You can't stop them. They control the media. The media is an arm extension of the U.S. government. That's why all the different TV stations sound the same, because they're reading from the same script, word for word. They're reading from the same script, same talking points, same narrative. Notice how none of the channels deviate from the narrative because they're not supposed to. Think about it. You don't have to be a rocket scientist to figure this stuff out. The media is an extension of the United States government. That's how they control the people, is through the media. And it's not just the mainstream media. They also control the online media. They control what you hear and what you see. They control the internet. They control what comes up under your search results when you're doing searches. They control what you see. They control what you hear. And they also now control what you say. So the media, Western media, is nothing more than the spokesperson department of the federal government. So let's deconstruct Western media's self-professed impartiality. They always say, fair and balanced, unbiased, impartial. They are not impartial. They have not been impartial for decades. They've never been impartial. You see, Western news reporting on Palestine prides itself on keeping it professional, yet any media critic worth their salt can easily expose the pro-Israeli doublethink operating behind the smokescreen of journalistic neutrality, which does not exist. Journalists must be impartial on the side of those who suffer. Really? These words by the late veteran journalist Robert Fisk constitute one of the most trenchant deconstructions of the hypocritical nature of Western journalism, one that prides itself on its impartiality but has no scruples in shedding its self-congratulatory professional ethics like a snake sheds its skin when political expediency demands it. And nowhere does political expediency define the reason to do this in Western journalism. It must reveal itself as a greater hoax when you pull back the covers. Nothing more than Eurocentric hubris than in the reporting of what conventional wisdom, which is all too often more ignorant than it is wise, has dubbed the Israeli-Palestinian conflict. You see, the geopolitical situation has been cleverly designed to obscure Israel's sole culpability by reapportioning blame against all the factual realities and dictates of decency to the sole victims, the Palestinians. They're the victims. In doing so, the pro-Israeli media artificially creates a level playing field in the narrative as compensation for the lack of a level playing field in the real world. So, under the guise of impartiality, Western journalists reporting on Palestine routinely do the exact opposite of what Fisk demanded of those who ply the news trade. They are impartial, not on the side of those experiencing suffering, but on the side of those who cause it, and in this case, Israel. A recent example of this pro-Israel Western impartiality one could witness during Israel's latest bombing campaign on the besieged Gaza Strip, which killed 49 Palestinians, among them 17 children. The situation in the Middle East escalates, wrote one of Germany's most trusted news outlets, with regards to the apartheid regime's 3-day bombing bonanza. While this reads like a wholly impartial statement to the point of semantic vacuity, it is in fact highly revealing of partisan positioning on the side of those causing suffering, namely Israel, a positioning orchestrated in a truly masterful way. Let's go deeper. You see, the dilemma every liberal, white establishment journalist peddling colonial narratives faces in the 21st century is this: knowing that colonialism is frowned upon nowadays, but that you nonetheless continue to profit from the privileges it and its successor, modern racial capitalism, afford you. How do you take the side of another colonizer without lying about their true nature, which would entail violating your occupational code of ethics, and without letting you and your audience catch on to the fact that you are incorrigibly and unapologetically pro-colonialism? Pro-colonialism. Well, the answer is simple: via the careful construction of impartiality, and what better way to do so than remaining as vague and abstract as possible. In the aforementioned headline, situation is nothing but an abstractification of the more truthful, indiscriminate, Israeli bombings, and escalates nothing but an abstractifying substitute for having to mention the countless number of Palestinian victims killed by Israel, as decency and adherence to veracity would demand of any journalist worth their salt. But they can't do that because they are no longer independent nor impartial. In the Middle East, the deployment of this term in the context of Israel warfare against Palestinian civilians was a far more dishonest agenda than simply not letting one's reader onto one's pro-colonial proclivities. The last time that this happened, the Middle East comprised 17 UN recognized countries, not only Palestine and Israel. A European settler colony erected in Palestine, thus using a term like Middle East in the context of Palestine, is taking a tried and tested Western tactic of diminishing Israel's culpability to even higher realms of factual distortion by falsely reapportioning blame not only to Palestinians, but to the entire Middle East. Furthermore, read a book like Edwards said, covering Islam, how the media and the experts determine how we see the rest of the world, from 1981, and you will understand why it is no coincidence that he has never published a news article about the ongoing war in Ukraine under the headline "Situation in Europe Escalates." Though it did run a piece titled "Russia's True Face," its subtitle, including utterly non-impartial phrases such as "ruthless oppressor" and "step towards totalitarianism," when it was Russia, not Israel, that was banning human rights organizations. Talk about hypocrisy. Well, Western news reporting on Palestine can be described by the term doublethink, coined by George Orwell in his dystopian novel 1984, in which online encyclopedia Wikipedia describes as a process of indoctrination in which subjects are expected to simultaneously accept two conflicting beliefs as truth, often at odds with their own memory or sense of reality. I think that sums up the mainstream media in the West completely. Western journalism is not impartial. It is heavily partisan on the side of the sole proprietor of a conflict that isn't one. And because of that, its self-professed impartiality on the side of Israel has time and again proven to be nothing but calculated and wholesale indifference to Palestinian suffering at the hands of what can only be described as the single greatest felon of racialized murder and mayhem in the Western world after the United States itself. Now, chew on that for a minute and think about that. Every day, U.S. citizens are lied to by its government. Every day. They lie to you about all types of topics, not just what's in the news. And there's a reason for that. It's because it doesn't want you to know that the king has no clothes. And this is why there is a financial war on the West being waged by Russia and China simultaneously. Today, Russia and China are offering the global South, Africa, and Asia a release from the Western rules. In the U.S. National Interest magazine, a conservative-leaning journal, and in an uncharacteristic outbreak of candor, Ramon Marx has a piece entitled, "No Matter Who Wins, Ukraine, America has already lost." In it, Marx observes that regardless of who wins the Ukrainian war, the United States will be the strategic loser. Russia will build closer relations with China and other countries on the Eurasian continent, including India, Iran, Saudi Arabia, and the Gulf states. It will turn irrecoverably away from European democracies and Washington, just as President Richard Nixon and Henry Kissinger played the China card to isolate the Soviet Union during the Cold War. Presidents Vladimir Putin and Xi Jinping will play their cards in a bid to contain U.S. global leadership. Well, apart from the no matter who wins nod to the mandatory Western narrative, suggesting this still to be an open question, the gist of the national interest piece is spot on, albeit misconstruing the context completely. You see, Russia and China certainly are engaged in the bid to change the U.S. rules-based order. Not only are they buying up land and property in the United States, not only are they also doing that, but they are now also owning and buying companies, major companies in the United States. Not to substitute one hegemony for another, but rather to create the pressure, short of war, that forces an existential transformation in the Western zeitgeist, a pressure that gives the West little option but to end its expansionist reach into other societies, forcing compliance with its rules, otherwise known as neocolonialism. Now, yes, Russia and China are now playing their geostrategic cards, and in one sense, they are very familiar cards. These are the principles of self-determination and respect for sovereignty that emerged from the 1955 Bandung meeting, which came to underpin the neo-aligned movement of that time. They reflected the conference sponsors' then dissatisfaction at Western reluctance to listen and instead to impose their singularity on a view of Asian states. So just as the U.S. played its military-backed dollar dominance to the full extent in the years following the implosion of the Soviet Union, so much of the world into its rules-based sphere was tucked in tight. Today, Russia and China are offering the global South, Africa, and Asia a release from the Western rules. They're loosening that belt around the necks of other lesser nations. They're encouraging the rest of the world to assert its autonomy and independence along with them. Now, Russia, in partnership with China, is building these widespread political relationships on the control of global fossil fuel supplies and much of the world's food and raw materials to further increase Russia's influence over energy sources upon which the Western belligerents depend. Russia is stitching together a gas OPEC with Iran and Qatar, and has also made welcoming overtures to Saudi Arabia and the UAE to join together in taking greater control of all key energy commodities. So they want to break away from the U.S. Furthermore, these big producers are joining with big buyers to wrest precious metal and commodity markets out of the hands of London and America, with a view to ending Western manipulation of commodity prices through derivative paper markets. And yes, that is a fact. If they haven't wiped it from the internet, you should be able to Google that, and you will see that it has come out in court that the West has been manipulating commodity prices such as gold and silver, not to mention LIBOR rates. Yeah, that's all there. You'll see it. JP Morgan, Deutsche Bank, all them guys. The argument advanced by Russian officials to other states is both hugely appealing and simple. The West has turned its back on fossil fuels and is planning to phase them out entirely in a decade or so. They have chosen this track under intense U.S. pressure, a path in which the case of Europe will impose misery on the peoples for years to come. However, unpalatable though it be for some, the fact is that world economic growth still requires fossil fuel production. Without more investment and exploration, there is unlikely to be sufficient supply in the medium term to meet likely demand. What is not available anywhere is a quick means for increasing the physical supply of energy. Not to mention, your whole Green New Deal collapses because you need fossil fuels to create your new Green Deal. And you will need to continue to use fossil fuels for your Green Deal to work. How are you going to build these windmills and these solar panels and all these other things without fossil fuels? You need energy to create more energy, and that requires fossil fuels. It's just how it is. You will never be able to get all the energy that you need just off of your windmills and solar panels alone. You're going to need fossil fuels. Even if everyone stopped driving cars that require gas and they use electric cars, you would still need fossil fuels in order to have the energy you need to charge your electric vehicles. All you would do is make people's electric bills go up a lot higher. People will be paying even more for electric, and in order to have electric, you got to have the fossil fuels. Our whole energy grid requires fossil fuels. You can't have one without it. What happens to the electrical grid? The electrical grid can't be maintained just with solar and wind alone. You need fossil fuels. So Russia's message to its partners is that you don't have to join with this, big bad, quote unquote, white devil America, because that's what they call the America overseas, the white devil. You don't have to deal with them. You can have oil and natural gas at a discount to what Europe has to pay. The golden billion have enjoyed the benefits of modernity, and now they want you to forego it all and to expose your electorates to extreme hardships too. That's right. They want the people to live like this was 1,000 years ago, while they still get to fly around in their expensive jets and on their expensive yachts, and they get to drive around in their expensive limos, and they get to be protected by expensive security. See, they want to ban guns in America, but that is a very hypocritical and misleading statement. They don't want to ban guns. No, there is not one Democrat or Republican in the United States of America that want to outlaw and ban guns. That's what they want you to think. No, they love guns. You want to know why? They don't want you to have them. They want to ban and outlaw guns for the citizenry. But they themselves, oh, you better believe they're going to have guns. See, that's the hypocrisy of it. You can't want one thing for the people and then have something else for government officials, especially the non-elected ones. See, they're always going to have Secret Service or some kind of private security outfit to guard them, to guard their person and their property. But you just won't be allowed to have it, even if you can afford it. See, that's the hypocrisy. Until they start living what they are saying, it's always going to be bread and circus, lies, mist fog, and sizzle with no steak. Smoke with no fire. That's what they're selling you. They're telling you, oh, it's better. You'll own nothing and you'll be happy. See, that's what they're telling you. They're saying you want this. You want to own nothing and be happy. But they get to own everything. Look at the average government official or big Fortune 500 company person that is pushing this agenda. They're not living like how they're saying they want you to live. Oh no, they're not. They're telling you you should start learning how to eat bugs, but you better believe they're going to be eating steak every night. They're going to be having lobster and steak and shrimp. They're going to be eating good. While you're eating mutton, they're going to be eating steak. While you're driving in a little teeny tiny electric vehicle that costs more than it costs to fuel. It costs more to charge that electric vehicle than it does for you to fill up your tank full of gas. But they don't want to talk about that. And they don't want to talk about how the average peasant cannot afford an electric vehicle. They don't have $60,000 to buy that little teeny box, that little lunchbox car. They don't have the money for that. And even if you gave them one of those cars for free, they still wouldn't be able to afford to charge it at the charging station. No, they wouldn't. So you see the problem. And the people pushing the agenda, they're not going to be riding around in that. You're not going to see them driving around in an electric car. And if you do, it's just a photo op, so they can appear to be living that way. They're not gonna sell their big mansions and live next door to you in your apartment building. They're not even gonna live next door to you in your neighborhood. Oh no! You think Nancy Pelosi, with her $100 million in assets, is gonna live next door to you in your apartment? Please. But now, if they led by example, if you start seeing her uploading videos to YouTube showing her eating bugs and eating meatless steak every day, instead of her going to get her hair done during a lockdown, during a pandemic, then maybe you would listen to them. But you're not, because you know that they're hypocrites. In your heart, you know they're hypocrites and they're liars. All of those politicians, all of those corporate CEOs, all of those high-ranking government officials are hypocrites. They are rich and getting richer while you are poor and getting poorer. They've decimated the middle class, and now it's just rich and poor. And then they tell you that the good guys are the bad guys, when in reality, the so-called good guys are the bad guys, not the bad guys. The bad guys are the good guys. See, Russia is saying simply, it needn't be like this. Yes, the climate is a consideration, but only because they keep spraying and they won't stop spraying. They won't stop geoengineering. The geoengineering is causing all the droughts. It's causing all the ridiculous weather patterns. They did this. They did this. Fossil fuels are experiencing an acute lack of investment for ideological reasons rather than running out of them per se. The point here is that the original starting point to the Bandung was that the West just does not do listening. It directs and imposes. Western green ideology, however, cannot simply be mandated for the rest of the world against its wishes. This argument represents the pathway for Russia and China to switch much of the world to their camp. Because again, the United States wants to dictate to other countries what they will or won't do. Now, you would say, okay, well, you're right. They don't have the force. They can't force another country to do what they want them to do. You're right, but you're wrong. Technically speaking, though, they can't. But guess how they do it? They do it covertly, because they have a thing called the International Monetary Fund. And a lot of these countries owe billions and billions of dollars to them, and they need more money from them. So in order to get money from them, they have these big, thick documents that must sign. And in these big, thick documents, they put that in there. That basically, you're going to do whatever we tell you to do. And so they have to do it. So Russia, through tightening the energy screw to give its argument bite, is serving a blunt warning to the EU that the Western European political class either can save its own skin through reverting to cheap Russian gas, or alternatively, it can stay aligned with Washington, D.C. on Ukraine. And the latter course, however, would mean it having to cast its electorates into misery and to risk its leaders facing the unpleasantness of a revolt. But the EU can do nothing. What can they do? The EU cannot do both. And that's a fact. They cannot do both. Okay? What matters primordially is the nature of European metamorphosis. It is tactical. Is it? Or is it a true Damascene conversion? We will find, in wake of the Russian energy squeeze, an EU sufficiently sufficiently chastened to embrace a non-ideological negotiation of the security and civilizational aspirations of others, as well as a grounded exchange on means to protect the planet from further depredation. Now, here's the issue, folks, in a nutshell. This is what happens when you allow and or elect psychopaths to run your country. I hope that Americans are waking up to the disaster that they have caused upon themselves. Remember, you voted these people into office. Remember, you allowed them to become career politicians. Some of these elected officials have been in office more than 20, 30, 40 years. Have you seen any change? No, you have not. Nor will you. The change that you're going to see is not for the better. It's for your better, because they see themselves as your better. So that is what you're going to see. You think they really want to help you? You think they really are trying to help people? Is that what you thought? See, all these years, people like myself have been warning. We have been encouraging. We have been telling you about what's happening and what's coming. And we have been marginalized. We've been beat up on. Okay? And we don't control the airwaves, so there's nothing we can do. We also don't control the platforms at all. And even if you did have a platform, they would still attack you through other means, because that's what they do. That's how they live. That's how they move, folks. They do. This is their line of work. This is their modus operandi. So if they can't get you one way, they'll get you another way. They say, okay, fine. So, you got your own platform. Okay, fine. Well, we're going to go after all the things that make you having a platform work. And that's what they do. They'll defund you. They'll talk to all the funding sources to drop you as a client. So now you can't raise money. You can't raise money anymore. So now your organization collapsed. See, that's what they do. Their number one weapon, I told you guys, the most powerful weapon ever created by man is not a missile. It's not a bomb. It's not a nuke. It's not a gun. It's not a bullet. And it's not a knife. Ladies and gentlemen, if you've never heard me say it before, it's your first time here, I'm telling you now, the greatest, most powerful weapon ever created by man is the briefcase. The briefcase is so powerful because it comes in different designs. You have the duffel bag, you got the book bag, you got the briefcase, you got the steel briefcase. You can put so many things in this briefcase. The first most powerful substance they put in the briefcase is money. They fill it until its capacity with money. And they say, hey, go ahead and hold that. And most people, when they see how much money is in that briefcase, they turn the other cheek. They say, you know what? I have changed my mind. You are right. I agree with your position on everything. That's what they do. Okay, that's what they do. They use money to control people, or the lack thereof, to control their opposition. All right, that's how they deal with the ops. It's through money, either cutting off money or indebting you with money. So money can be used as a tool, a double-edged sword. It can be used to oppress you, or it can be used to starve you. And that's what we see happening right now. And that's why the rest of the world is saying we're tired of it. We are tired of this. We want to get off of this merry-go-round. And the only way to do it is to do our own thing and no longer be beholden to the U.S. and to the West. And that's what's happening right now. So what decision is Europe going to make? They get the majority of their supply from Russia. Is it Russia's fault that they're being forced to do this? No. What you're experiencing when you go to fill up your car or you go to shop for food in a grocery store, you can thank your U.S. government for this. This is their fault. It's not Russia's fault. It's not Russia's fault. It's not China's fault. It's your country's fault. They're the ones you elected into office. It's their fault. They allowed this to happen with their abysmal foreign policies. And I do mean abysmal. Their foreign policy has been lacking for a long, long, long time. And so now it's reckoning time. And they can't handle it. But they're not going to have a choice. Because like I told you before, the infighting was real. I told you it was before this thing even got underway, I told you what it was going to be. And right now, the evil people are winning. They're having their way. They want to bring down the United States of America. And they already have the people and persons they're going to blame it on. Because that's how they do. They plot and plan this stuff for years. And then they implement it. That's what they do. That's what they do, folks. So I don't know what else to tell. I don't know what else I can do. I mean, I'm telling you guys what it is. I'm breaking it down for you so you can see what's what. But outside of that, I don't know what to tell you. I don't know what I can do for you. You know, I try to give the truth. I try to educate, and that's all I can do. But look, I know I don't own social media. I don't own the platforms. And even if I did have my own platform, it wouldn't matter. Wouldn't matter at all. Want to know why? Because all they would do is try to attack the resources. It's just how that's what they do. I'm too little to box with them. I can't box with them. My arms aren't long enough to box with them, nor would I want to. Most countries' arms are not long enough to box with them, nor would they want to. But understand, though, you know, Rome is collapsing. Rome is falling. And it's rotting from within. It's not from without. See, they will have you to believe that all the trials and tribulations that America is facing right now is because of someone else. It's because of Russia. It's because of China. It's because of North Korea. It's because of Iran. They did this to me. No, you did it to yourself. America's committing suicide. That's what's happening right now. And that's the secret they don't want to tell you. But it's facts. They're allowing this to happen because the evil shadow government forces that control the country are the ones behind all this. And it's really disgusting that the people have allowed it to happen. But that briefcase, man, it breeds corruption. It causes people to corrupt. All right. It's just really messed up what we're seeing right now. I don't know if it's even survivable for most people. And to me, if you haven't already, you know, woken up to what's going on by now, then you're not going to. When people finally do, the latecomers, when they finally do wake up, it's going to be way, way, way too late. It just is. You know, so much time right now is being wasted when people could be doing things to prepare themselves, you know, like getting the heck out of Dodge, Why would you want to stay in a country that hates you? Why would you want to do that? Why would you keep voting for elected officials who despise you? They despise you, and yet you're voting for them. Really? When will the American people learn? This is why I've always been less than optimistic about America being able to turn the tide. And I think Yuri, he said it best, man. Yuri Benzimov said it. He said it best. He said, back in 1983, 1984, he said, look, you guys, you're in trouble. You are in trouble. You need to do something right now. If you get on this right now, if you get on it right now, today, right now, he said, you can turn this thing around in 20 years. You can do this. It'll take 20 years, but you can do it. By the year 2000, America will be back on course, and all will be well. But he was ignored. The powers that be that he was trying to reach, they didn't care. You want to know why they didn't care? Because it was like, oh, so you already know what we're doing. Well, then you should know that we're not going to stop. We're doing exactly what we want to do. Now, I will say this. If we had the internet and stuff back then, I thoroughly believe that America would have, changed course. And we'll be living in a different world today. But he was too far ahead of his time. You could say he was the first time traveler because he was so ahead of his time back in 1983. And he was warning everyone about what was going to happen, and no one listened to him. Not because they didn't want to, but the majority of the peasantry that vote, they knew nothing about him. I didn't learn about him until 2009. I didn't. So we're way past that 20-year time frame that he was talking about. And it's too late now. Even if you try to do something, it's not going to happen. Even though the whole January thing that they say was a riot, whatever, we know was false, but that's a whole nother video. But let's say that was real. Let's say that was the American people saying we're tired, we're fed up. And let's say it was, a couple of million people coming, marching down there. Do you know it would have ended the same way? It would have been an epic fail by the peasantry. It's too far gone for the peasantry to do something like that. You can't rise up now. You can't do anything. You can't protest. There's nothing you can do because you've allowed the beast to become too powerful. When the beast was just a little eggling, when it first hatched, that's when you should have dealt with it. But no, you've allowed it to grow, 100 stories tall. And not only did you allow it to grow 100 stories tall, but you also allowed it to bear offspring, hundreds of babies, some of which are even taller and bigger than it is. How do you expect to do anything? You can't do anything with that. It's nothing you can do. It's game over. You have a choice. Either you hunker down and grin and bear it, or you leave. You run. Get out of Dodge. Those are your two choices now. That is what it is. All right. So I know. You're going to say that there has to be a way, or I believe in the people, I believe in America. No, you need to go back and watch my video about America being under judgment. the judgment of abandonment. So, nah, it's not happening, partner. It's game over. The time for repentance has passed. America's already under judgment. You know? I know. It is what it is. So with that being said, I've given you what the gist of things are. I've told you what was what. Since we've been talking, a few things have taken place. Just a couple. You'll see here that the Dow that was down 300 points is now down only 87 points, and that's partly because we're getting closer toward the lunchtime. NASDAQ is still down about 200 on the future, so this is pretty substantial. S&P down 30, Russell down 20. Yeah, that's pretty substantial. I don't think this market is turning. I just think we're getting a lunchtime thing going on here. So with that being said, yeah, I don't think we're going to be seeing too much of a turnaround today. I think we're slowly entering that space where everything is going to start crashing together. And that's only because this is by design. It's not an accident, folks. It's not an accident. We knew this was coming. And like I said, most markets are already in a bear market and have been in a bear market. And I don't see any respite coming in that department either. So it is what it is, folks. We just have to, deal with it. Either you hunker down or get out. Those are your choices. I bet you this, though. The elite who are not part of that world of the shadow government, you better believe they're making plans or have already made plans to get out of Dodge. So what's your plan going to be? All right. Hunkering in place is going to be extremely difficult for a myriad of reasons. So better start thinking about that. All right, folks, smash that like button. And if you haven't already done the obvious by now, you need to go to pulsewavetrading.com. Take that 14-day free trial challenge. See how much money you can make during the 14-day free trial. It costs you nothing. Free trial costs you nothing. Trade with us. See how much money you can make in them 14 days. Prove it to yourself that you can do this, because I know you can. You're going to need that income stream because they're planning to keep you poor. Your own government is planning to keep you poor. They want you dependent on them for everything, including your daily sustenance. That's right. Your own government wants to give you universal basic income, a measly pittance, and they expect you to live on it. That's right. Why subject yourself to that? The best side hustle I have ever seen in my life is trading these markets. I believe that trading these markets needs to become everybody's full-time job moving forward, because that's going to be the only escape route for you. It's the only place I know that is liquid enough and where your income is unlimited. That's right. Income is unlimited. And you don't have all these third and fourth and fifth parties involved. You get to be the captain of your own ship. You get to make your own choices and decisions. And there's no one that you have to report to saying, no, you can't take vacation days. No, you can't take a sick day. No, you're not getting a raise. No, you can't take vacation. Really? Really? So become your own boss. World's greatest side hustle in the world, trading these markets. All right, that's a good question. The question is, do you think they'll shoot this market to the moon sometime? Yeah, I do. But that's only if the righteous people can wrestle back some bit of control where they can implore the PPT to prop up the market. That's the only way to cause the market to rally is with the PPT. The government will have to print even more money and promise to backstop the market, then the market will rally. But there's too much negative forces barreling down on the market right now to make that a true reality. Even if they did turn on the plunge protection team, it wouldn't be sustainable. Yeah, the market would go up for a little bit, but it wouldn't be sustainable. So here's the situation. If I can explain the market to you like this. The market is an opioid addicted patient. This patient has been on these opioids for 20 years straight. The market has been getting high every month for 20 plus years without stopping, chasing that initial high. Now the market has gotten to the point now where it's not feeling the high no more. It's not getting lifted no more. Every time it gets high, it's not getting high. It's still doing the opioids of the Fed fund stimulus, but it's not having the same desired effect. The market is not getting as high as it used to. Now, granted, when the Fed does those types of stimulus, it takes up to 18 months for it to, trickle all throughout the economy and stuff like that. But you're finding that the patient now has built up a resistance to the stimulus. So the stimulation is not stimulating anymore. The more you stimulate now, the more it's needed in order to stimulate, if that makes any sense for you. So the market requires more now in order to be stimulated, a lot more. And as long as that is true, then I don't see the market recovering anytime soon. I think this is the grizzly bear of all grizzly bears popping its head up, and it's because of many factors. It's death by 1,000 cuts. This is what the ruling class wants. This is what the powerful, evil, elite, shadow government forces want. So this is why it's happening. All right, it's happening because they want it to. So I don't see the bull market coming. Like I said, unless they turn on the plunge protection team, that's the only way I see it happening. That's the only way it can happen. And even if they do that, it won't last too long. The market will just go down again. So, yeah, this is going to be a long-term bear market. And because they have broken the economy and also broken the financial markets, this is why you're seeing everything crash simultaneously. Now, according to market theory, you should not have stocks down and bonds down simultaneously, but you do. And not only do you have stocks down and bonds down simultaneously, you also have gold down and silver down simultaneously. And copper is also down simultaneously. And crude oil is also down simultaneously. According to market theory, this should not ever be the case. This is supposed to be impossible. Because where's the flight to safety? Where's the flight to quality? Back in the day when stocks were down, that means money was flooded into the bonds. Today, the stock market is bleeding and money is not flowing into bonds. Bonds are bleeding too. People are taking their money out of stocks and taking their money out of bonds simultaneously, and they're taking their money out of gold and they're taking money out of silver. They're cashing in their gold and their silver too. Not only that, but then crude oil is dropping as well. Crude oil is down almost $3 right now. We're at the $86 handle right now. And you say, okay, well, fine. The flight to quality now is crypto. That's where money's going. Money's going to the altcoins. No, it's not. Ethereum is down 37.5. Okay, fine. Well, money's going into Bitcoin. Yeah, that's the real giant. Nope, Bitcoin's down 500. This is a problem. This proves and shows and demonstrates that they have broken the economy and thus broken the markets as well, where your correlations have completely and utterly broken down. The only positive thing today is the dollar up a full 105 pips. It used to be once every Haley's Comet that you would see the dollar up over a full point like that. The dollar historically has been a slow mover. It moves slow, like the euro dollar futures moves, very slow. But now you're down a full point today. Money is flowing into the dollar. How is that even possible? People are saying gold and silver, precious metals cannot help me today. People are saying bonds cannot help me today. People are saying stocks can't help me today. People are saying oil, even though oil falling and crashing like this is supposed to be a stimulus in and of itself to the economy and thus giving people that cushion to buy equities, but instead it's down too. And your altcoin and Bitcoin are down. The world is getting roasted right now. You know? It is what it is. Sad, but true. These are facts that you wish you didn't have to speak on. You know what I mean? But what do? I got to tell you how I see it. I got to tell you like it is. I can't make stuff up. That's no fun, being lied to. So this is what we're left with, folks. There's not a lot going on here. Unless you know how to trade and navigate these markets, you're gonna get punished. Think of all the people you heard over the last 24 hours telling you to buy stocks, telling you to buy precious metals, telling you to buy bonds, telling you to buy Bitcoin, telling you to buy Ethereum. They were all wrong. Very wrong. Extremely wrong. These are just facts, man. Just the facts. I hope that people take my advice. I hope that people go to postwavetrading.com and sign up for the 14-day free trial. I hope they do this, but they may not. They may be the people on the other side of my trades, and that's fine too. I have no problem with that. Let it be. So, with all that said, man, you know what to do. Smash that like button. And remember, bulls make money, bears make money, and pigs get slaughtered. So remember to take whatever profits you can from these markets and give nothing back. Do not turn winning trades into losing trades. And with that, I'll see you guys over and out. Peace.